Hello everyone and welcome back to the second battle in the best of 3 series between Bowmore and SirGruut. And today we have a Dark Elf versus Tzeentch battle. We have seen a similar matchup before. Let's see if Bowmore can overcome this matchup with his Dark Elf army versus Tzeentch from SirGruut. For the army builds here, Bowmore going for a front line of Dread Spears, second line of Black Arquebusiers, probably trying to rely on the armor and the anti-infantry bonus of these Black Arquebusiers to cut through the horrors. Behind them, a bunch of Dark Shards with shields. They're flanked by some Raptor Cavalry, the Koan Knights with their anti-large, and on the other side Koan Dread Knights with more elite stats. They form the backbone of the Dark Elf mobility and are supported by the faster but also cheaper Dark Riders who do not have any shields in this case. In the skies, a bunch of harpies there, one of them the Crows of Cain, leading the army Supreme Sorceress of Soul Stealer, very standard Lord choice, but on the other side we do have a Soul Grinder to threaten the Dark Elf Lord, especially when supported by the Chaos Lord of Tzeentch, a very elite anti-large combatant with Colossal Strike especially. This is gonna put the Dark Elf Lord in a pretty dangerous spot. For the rest of the Tzeentch army here, the Lord is supported by cultists with Fireball and Cascading Fire Cloak. There's also the Gate of Tzeentch Pink Horror summon. And for the main front line, there's a whole lot of blue horrors there, with some more elite horrors right behind them. Chromatic Abominations and Sour Guts both have way more ammo than the regular blue horrors. For mobility, 4 units of Tentacles, very solid cavalry there with the armor piercing damage and solid charge bonus. They can do substantial damage into enemy armored cavalry if they get the charge, and with the Tzeentch barrier they can comfortably tank damage in the initial stage of battle before starting to take casualties. So very cost efficient unit. And yeah, that's it for the army builds. Now let's just go back to normal speed as the Soul Grinder is already poking at the Dark Elf Soul Stealer Lord. Already taking some noticeable damage here, but thankfully some of the shots were blocked by the tree line. However, this is still gonna be pretty rough for the Dark Elves as they don't really have a good way to disrupt the Soul Grinder for now. We'll go into a bit of fast forward here as the Tzeentch army is doing a bit of repositioning, Dark Elves pushing forward while Soul Grinder continues to shoot at the Supreme Sorceress of Dark Magic. And at this point only a minute and a half has gone by and the Dark Elf Lord is already down to 3/4 of her HP. In the front line, Black Arquebusiers are rushing forward, trying to rely on their armor to tank out the shots from all of these blue horrors, but the sheer volume of firepower and the not exactly best armor at only 80, they're still taking substantial damage at half health already before actually engaging into combat. So Grinder continues to poke at the Supreme Sorceress of Soul Stealer, so things are pretty rough for the Dark Elf Lord. Both Black Arquebusiers who are engaging in the front line are down to half health already. A little bit of a Soul Stealer cast into the front line trying to heal up the Supreme Sorceress, but she's still hit by some stray missiles from the horrors and the Warp Flame effect has been applied. She's actually on fire and her healing is cut down. At the back there, the Tentacles have charged into the Dark Elf mobility. One of the Dark Riders are getting shredded, and then 2 Harpies plus Koan Knights are trying to grind through the Tentacles here, but the Tentacles are really doing some solid work despite fighting against a numerically superior opponent. On the other side there, things are going a little bit better for the Dark Elves due to all their resources invested into the back here. The Black Arquebusiers are pushing forth and the Dread Spears are still holding just fine. Dark Shards firing in, focusing down some of these blue horrors, but the problem is that the summoned Pink Horror has dropped into the backline, pushing back the Dark Shards, while the Tentacles were able to extract themselves from the engagement here, while Blue Horrors firing point blank into the Koan Knights, shredding through their HP, while the Supreme Sorceress of Dark Magic is in big trouble, down to 1/3 of her HP. The healing of the Soul Stealer really isn't enough to sustain her right now, with the Warp Flame cutting down her healing. Soul Grinder continues to poke and now she's down to 25% HP, especially with the Tzeentch Lord on her tail. A Soul Stealer should be able to heal her up for a bit now when she's not on fire, but she's not coming back in time to save her backline, who is in big trouble. One of the Dark Shards are getting shot by the summoned Pink Horrors and the Tzeentch Lord is there to disrupt. The other Dark Shard is getting ran down by the Tentacles, while the Dread Spears in the front line are faltering to the point blank fire from all these Blue Horrors and Pink Horrors. Thankfully, the Dread Spears have dealt with some of the Tentacles at the back there with the help of the Cohen Dread Knight, and are now shutting down the Sour Guts, but they are indeed on guard mode, so most of the unit is still firing at whatever they can see, like these Cohen Dread Knights here. And the Harpies are coming over to disrupt the Chromatic Abomination as well. The Tentacles are still holding on here with the Cascading Fire Cloak buffing their melee defense, pinning down the Cohen Cavalry, allowing another unit of Tentacles to charge in from behind. The Cohen Knight, unfortunately, has been overwhelmed by the sheer amount of armor-piercing melee combatant, but the Black Dragon Breath Attack has disrupted some of the Tentacle units, while the Blue Horrors will be turning around to fire and chip away some of her health. Dread Spears are here to shut down the Blue Horrors, while the Supreme Sorceress of Soul Stealer is trying to go after some weaker units of Tzeentch forces. The Tzeentch Artillery, the Soul Grinder, has been shut down for now as he is distracted to fight the Dread Knight and Harpies. Pink Horrors are also being disrupted by enemy melee units, but the problem is that there's still nothing to save the Dark Elf Lord from the Tzeentch Chaos Lord. She is significantly slower than a Tzeentch Lord on a disc at 105 speed, while the Soul Stealer Sorceress only has 81 after having that wounded status debuffing her speed, and she will be routed by the Chaos Lord, especially with the Colossal Strike has been turned on, so she is taking extra damage from the Chaos Lord of Tzeentch. Over here, Code 1 Dread Knights have been shattered by an overwhelming charge of Tentacles. Some of them are still fighting despite how tattered they are, and at this point the Sorceress has been slain by the Tzeentch Lord. Army losses kicks in, and SirGruut will be clawing back a victory, dragging this best of 3 into a third and final game. Tragically for the Dark Elves and their Soul Stealer Lord, the Soul Grinder single entity sniping power is just still too good here, getting 2 chevrons and 1,600 gold worth of damage value, and most importantly, most of his health is still intact. The rest of the Tentacles are also doing some solid work here, crushing those Cohen Cavalry in prolonged melee combat and with their charge and armor piercing. For the Horrors here, they didn't do that much damage overall, but just being a relatively cost-efficient missile, whittling down the Black Corsairs, and the Black Corsairs, unlike the armored infantry, mid-tier infantry counterpart of the High Elves, the White Lions, these guys don't have that missile resistance, so they took quite a bit of damage from those sheer volume of missile firepower. And in the end, the Dark Shards were not able to help carry this game, as they were shut down by the summoned Pink Horrors and then the Tentacles rather early. And yeah, that's it for today's second battle of the best of 3 between Bowmore and SirGruut. We'll be continuing the series with a third and final battle tomorrow in the final video. So stay tuned for more multiplayer action, and we'll be concluding this best of 3 series of the Warpstone Cup. And anyways, that's it for today's video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Tactical Glitch signing out.